She is 23 years old, 4 years of university, 2 internships. She can find any answer in seconds. She has access to tools that would have seemed like science fiction to someone her age 20 years ago. And last month, her manager asked her to solve a problem without looking anything up. She froze. Not because she was not intelligent, not because she had not studied, but because something specific had happened to her brain over the past 3 years of using artificial intelligence for almost everything. Something that researchers now have a name for: cognitive atrophy. The question is not whether artificial intelligence is making Generation Z smarter or dumber. That debate misses the real pattern. The real pattern is this: a generational split is forming right now between the people who outsourced their thinking to artificial intelligence early and the people who kept doing things the hard way. And in 5 years, those two groups are going to find themselves in very different positions. Who is on which side might surprise you. Here is what almost nobody is saying out loud. Generation Z is the first generation to grow up with artificial intelligence as a daily tool. They are faster than any previous generation, more connected, better at finding information, and they know something is wrong. 47% of them say artificial intelligence is making them less intelligent. That number comes from a global survey of 2,500 workers published in May 2026. Nearly half of Generation Z, not outsiders looking in, but the generation itself, feels the capability draining away even as the speed increases. 79% believe artificial intelligence makes people lazier. 38% trust artificial intelligence's judgment more than their own. More than 1 in 3 young adults now trust a machine more than they trust themselves. That last number is the one that matters, not because trusting artificial intelligence is wrong, but because trust that has not been earned through experience is a different kind of trust. It is dependency. And dependency on any single tool, in any economy, is a vulnerability that compounds over time. But here is where it gets interesting. Because the generation that is least worried about any of this is not the youngest one, it is the oldest one. And why that matters is the part nobody is connecting. In the 1980s, calculators arrived in classrooms. The argument was simple: arithmetic is tedious. Let the machine handle it. Focus on higher thinking instead. Then, something nobody predicted happened. Students who used calculators for everything stopped being able to estimate. They could get the answer, but they lost the ability to feel when the answer was wrong, to catch the error before it happened, to understand what the numbers meant before the machine processed them. The cognitive muscle they stopped using started to atrophy. The students who resisted total calculator dependence, who still worked through problems by hand, who felt the friction of struggling, developed something the others did not: mathematical intuition, error detection, the confidence that comes from having figured something out yourself. The friction was never the problem. The friction was the point. 40 years later, the workers doing things the hard way are not the ones falling behind. They are the ones the artificial intelligence companies are paying the most to find, because they can do something that artificial intelligence cannot. They know when the machine is wrong. So how did that happen? And how is it showing up in the data right now? In 2025, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology published something that should have made front pages everywhere. People who consistently use large language models for writing and decision-making exhibit reduced brain activity, diminished memory retention, and less original thinking. Reduced brain activity, while using the most powerful thinking tool ever created. Microsoft and Carnegie Mellon University followed with their own finding. Their words: using generative artificial intelligence tools deprives the user of the routine opportunities to practice their judgment and strengthen their cognitive musculature, leaving them atrophied and unprepared when the exceptions arise. Atrophied, and unprepared. Now here is the generational split the data shows. Younger users exhibit higher reliance on artificial intelligence tools and lower critical thinking scores compared to older users. Not because older workers are smarter, but because they formed their cognitive habits before artificial intelligence existed. They built the muscle before the machine arrived. The workers in their 40s and 50s who are reluctantly adopting artificial intelligence, the ones who still draft things by hand first, who still think through problems before asking the machine, who feel mildly embarrassed about how slow they are compared to their younger colleagues. Those workers are accidentally becoming the most valuable people in any room that has artificial intelligence in it, because they can catch what the machine gets wrong, and they know why. Here is the dimension that even the researchers studying this have not fully connected yet. 64% of employees feared that artificial intelligence would disrupt the leadership pipeline by eliminating early career roles that traditionally help develop future leaders. They are right, but not for the reason they think. The early career roles that built future leaders did not build leadership by teaching content. They built it by forcing young people to struggle with real problems without enough information, without enough time, without the ability to look up the answer. That struggle is what built judgment. Artificial intelligence is not just automating the tasks in those roles. It is removing the struggle that made those roles developmental. The 23-year-old who generates a perfect analysis in 12 minutes using artificial intelligence has learned something valuable, but she has not learned how to generate that analysis herself. She has not learned to feel the tension of not knowing the answer. She has not learned to trust her own judgment under pressure. And in 5 years, when the artificial intelligence tool gives the wrong answer on something that matters, she will not know it is wrong. The 52-year-old in the same room will. Generation Z is not less intelligent, they are less practiced. And in a world run by artificial intelligence, practiced judgment is the only thing the machine cannot replace. The signal is not in who is using artificial intelligence the most. The signal is in what the artificial intelligence companies themselves are paying the most for. The highest compensated roles at companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google DeepMind are not going to the people who use artificial intelligence for everything. They are going to the people who can evaluate when artificial intelligence is wrong. Who can identify the edge case the machine missed? Who can walk into a room where everyone trusts the output and say, something is off here? That capability has a name inside these companies. They call it red teaming. And the people who are best at it are disproportionately older workers with deep domain experience who spent years developing judgment the hard way. The companies paying attention to this are already restructuring how they develop early career talent, making junior employees form their own answer first, then checking it against the machine. The struggle is not inefficiency. The struggle is the product. If you want to keep reading the signals before they become obvious, this is where that happens. Every week, before the mainstream catches up. She is 23. She knows more than any 23-year-old in history. She can find any answer in seconds. She can generate a report in minutes that would have taken a team a week. And when her manager asked her to solve a problem without looking anything up, she froze. That is not a story about intelligence. It is a story about a muscle that was never trained because the machine was always there to do the work. Cognitive atrophy is not a metaphor. MIT measured the reduced brain activity. Microsoft and Carnegie Mellon documented the diminished judgment. 47% of Generation Z felt it in themselves and said so out loud. The generational split forming right now is not between the people who use artificial intelligence and the people who do not. It is between the people who kept training the muscle and the people who let the machine train for them. The signal was always there. The people who built their judgment before the machine arrived can see it clearly. Now, you can too.